Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we'll be discussing on how to calculate the critical load that caused the force mode buckling. My name is Julapot Jirawashaladet. This subject is a third course of Mechanics of Materials in International Program in Civil Engineering at King Mongkut University of Technology, Thonburi. And I'm very pleased to have you guys here with us. To start off, we will be discussing on how the calculation will be applied. The proof will be in previous lectures, so if you are interested, you can trace back to previous lessons. These are the four cases that we usually consideration. It changed in support, right? The four cases are as follow: the pin, the fixed free, fixed, and fixed pin. Again, this classified as a two support on either end of a column or a beam, it doesn't matter, or any inclined member, right? It's basically the mode, the calculation of the buckling will rely on how the movement is allowed at the end of each end of the member itself. Well, the general formulation can be as shown now: the critical load, right? The load that actually caused, I have to say here, the first mode buckling, right? This is the form. The pi is the pi, right? E is the Young modulus, I is the area moment of inertia about an axis that go through the centroid, because this equation comes from the bending moment equation, right? And then the constant time L over R square, or sometimes it can be written in this form. It's the same equation. It's the same equation. However, rather than using a constant time L, we talk about effective length. That has been discussed again previously as well. So in this case, let's look at the LE, which is equal to KL. As I said, it's the same equation, the effective length. So E is a material property, the Young modulus should be given, or we can find it. I, the area moment of inertia, is a cross-sectional property. If we know the cross-section, we can calculate I. So the length, well, is a structure, we know what the length is. So basically, we need to know what K is then. Then once we know K and we can calculate all the rest, then we can define what is the critical load is, right? From the proof, that is as follow, right? The four cases have different K, meaning it has different effective length, basically. So that's it about the lead equations, and now we will just go ahead and apply it. Simple example. This one here, we notice the column on the left-hand side is a one fixed support and one on the top is the free end. So basically this is fitting the fixed free support or the pin type, right? So the Young modulus is given and it give the cross-sectional area. So we'll go through that quickly, right? So let's look at the equation, right? So, well, the form is the equation. If you look at the table, you realize that K is equal to 2, right? Basically meaning the effective length is twice the length of its length. Basically, the effective length is 8, or K equal to 2, right? That's it. That's really just bring the number out. Then we calculate the area moment of inertia, right? Look at this one here. We have two axes here, X and Y, right? Oh, sorry, X and Z. So if we calculate according to it that go through its centroid, then there's the two area of moment inertia. We know how to do it. I use the subtraction form. You can use the combining form. It doesn't matter. Just get out both of them. Notice that they are different, right? Well, they are huge different though. One is 7, one is 395 times 10 to the 3, of course, right? Now the question is, where would it happen, right? Well, about what axis it start to buckle, right? Well, in theory, in practice, right? In theory, it can happen either way, but in practice, because the way we apply the load, usually the structure doesn't take the load as in one go. It's kind of like increasing. So basically, it will buckle at the lowest number that it can buckle. in this case, it will be on the about x-axis, right? Because that small I will create lower critical, right? So this one here, which we usually call the weaker axis, because it has a less resistance to bending, right? So that is the one here. So we're gonna use that one because it will happen here, not the other way, not in the z-axis. Right, so once now we summarize a little bit, we have the equation here, we have the young modulus given, we have the area moment of inertia, we have k, we have the length. Now, the unit is not consistent yet, so I will change the unit of I because I already have meter and meter, right, for E and for L. So I will change it so I can change only one. Now, and then everything is consistent. We actually put in the equations, right? And then we work out what is the critical load. Now this is in giganewton, according to the unit of E. It's not really convenient to answering, so I will use meganewton instead, right? And that will be our answer. There we are. So, and that's it really. That's done, right? Well, don't be worried. That is why it is so easy. Apparently, on this subject here, the difficult is in the proof, not in the application of the equation itself. Right? So don't worry. But if you find it easy and surprising, don't be surprised. It happens. Okay then. So I hope the lecture has been useful, and I hope you enjoyed the time with us. I hope to see you again soon in other lectures. Thank you very much for attending, and I will see you guys around. Goodbye for now.